LPSE 計画始動。こんにちは、ラキファーストです。
テクナンです。
黒カビです。
はい。LPSE ゲーミング仮の時間がやってまいりました。ということで、
はい
今回やるそのおすすめされたゲームは何ですか？
はい、今回はですね、スタンリーパラブル、一応ウルトラデラックスエディションというのをやってもらおうと思ってます。これは僕と黒カビが、いつかやらせようっつって、セールの時に荒木に買ってもらってて、ずっと寝かせてたやつですね。
そうだね。もうイニシエだね。ずっとあったよ。俺、
待ってた
ゲームアイコン基本的に画面の右上に置いてるんだけど、テクストコップのずっとあったからね。
LPSE ゲーミングやるって決まった当時からずっと寝かしてはいた
うん。
くらいやな。
それがついに49回になって、
いよいよ。
全然僕は全く知りません。
うん。好都合。
マジで。
けどちょっと楽しみだね。なんかパッと見画面がね、そのサムネの画面が面白そう感あるじゃんっていう気がするから楽しみだね。
なるほど。
ってことで早速入ってくんだけど、ゲームの方に、
はい。
そうだね。
現在の時刻を入力してくださいと。
出てるね。
出てますね。
パソコンゲームだとなかなか珍しいな、この形式はな。
今は本当は10時7分。
10時じゃあ7分にしますか。
うん。
あんだけスイッチの本体時間をいじくり回してた荒木がちゃんと時を合わせてる。
ポケモンのためにだっけ。
そう1ヶ月ぐらい先に行ってたから。お、無限ループじゃん。
無限ループだ。
ゲンループですね。
パソコンの中。
ゲーム始めていっか。セッティングが分かんないけど。なんだ？
This is the story of a man named Stanley. Stanley worked for a company in a big building where he was employee number 427. Employee number 427's job was simple. He sat at his desk in room 427 and he pushed buttons on a keyboard. Orders came to him through a monitor on his desk, telling him what buttons to push, how long to push them, and in what order. This is what employee 427 did every day of every month of every year. And although others might have considered it soul-rending, Stanley relished every moment that the orders came in, as though he had been made exactly for this job. And Stanley was happy.
くっそ退屈そうやけどな。
And then one day, something very peculiar happened. Something that would forever change Stanley. Something he would never quite forget. He had been at his desk for nearly an hour when he realized that not one single order had arrived on the monitor for him to follow. No one had showed up to give him instructions, call a meeting, or even say hi. Never in all his years at the company had this happened, this complete isolation. Something was very clearly wrong. Shocked, frozen solid, Stanley found himself unable to move for the longest time. But as he came to his wits and regained his senses, he got up from his desk and stepped out of his office.
お、動かせる。基本操作
始まった。
ジャンプはないか。
一応ゲーム音をちょいちっちゃくしてもいいかもしんないわ。
ゲーム音。
うん、いいと思う。
ナレーター
This
も
is the story of a man named Stanley. This is the story of a
これぐらいにしようか。
すげえいい音楽流れてたな。
行くか。
かないか。
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. No matter how hard Stanley looked, he couldn't find a trace of his co-workers.
誰もおらん。誰もおらん。
いないね。
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
左の方ね。
Yet there was not a single
誰
person
も
here
いないと。
either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there.
上司のオフィスどこだ？
Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked
上の階ね。
upstairs to his boss's office.
ここか。
あ、トイレ。
トイレだね。
トイレか。To be rich is it or cry to ちょっと意識高いことが書いてあるっぽいな。ちょっと敏感すぎん。
あ、
あ、いじっとく。カメラ感度かな。
あ、いいね。
Stepping
こ
into
れ
the
ぐらい。
manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Shocked, unraveled, Stanley wondered in disbelief who orchestrated this, what dark secret was being held from him. What he could not have known was that the keypad behind the boss's desk guarded the terrible truth that his boss had been keeping from him. And so the boss had assigned it an extra secret PIN number, 2845.
2845。
But of course, Stanley couldn't possibly have known this.
あ、違った。
わかんないね。
Yet incredibly, by simply pushing random buttons on the keypad, Stanley happened to input the correct code by sheer luck.
すごいな。
He stepped into the newly opened passageway.
周りを見ると、
おー。おー、いいね。男の子の憧れみたいなやつやん。
確かに
本棚の隠し扉はね、いいよね。
男の子の憧れみたいなエレベーターじゃん。
Descending deeper into the building, Stanley realized he felt a bit peculiar. It was a stirring of emotion in his chest, as though he felt more free to think for himself, to question the nature of his job. Why did he feel this now, when for years it had never occurred to him? This question would not go unanswered for long. Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility.
エスケープって書いてますけど、めちゃくちゃ。何があるんやあれ。ちょっとマップ探索したい派なので、
Although this passageway had the word escape written
ま
on
あ
it,
後で戻りゃいいやろ。
was that at the end of this hall, Stanley would meet his
Eh.
violent death.
犬らしいね。
帰りますか。いやいやいやけど
ネタバレされたけど。
やけど
マップちゃんと見とくか。
あの
The door behind him
あれ
was
かも
not
しれん。
shut. Stanley still had every opportunity to turn
フロムゲー
around
ムを
and
立ち去れ的なこと最初書いてるし、けどその後には
At this
ちゃんと
point,
いいアイテムがある
Stanley
か
was
ら。
making a conscious, concerted effort to walk
決勝とかでおったけど
forward
な、
and
す
so
ぎ。
he may confront his death.
己の死に直面するって言われてるけど、
何があんの？
落ちそうだな。
あ、
入った
落ちたわ。
As the machine whirred into motion and Stanley was inched closer and closer to his demise,
あ
he reflected that his life had been of no consequence
あ、弾丸論破のお仕置きみたいな感じで死んじゃうのか。
He doesn't know the
募
reason
集のやつか。
trapped forever in his narrow vision of what this world is. Perhaps his death was of no great loss, like plucking the eyeballs from a blind
なんか脱出ルートはないのか。ジャンプができないんだよな。
willingly accepted this violent end to his brief and shallow life. Farewell, Stanley.
しゃあない。せめて上を見よ
しゃあない。
せめて上を。
諦めが早い。
Farewell,
あれ？
Stanley, cried the narrator, as Stanley was led helplessly into the enormous metal jaws. In a single visceral instant, Stanley was obliterated.
ちょ
The
ちょ
machine crushed every bone in his body, killing him instantly.
いや諦めないもんだね。
And yet it would be just a few minutes before Stanley would restart the game, back in his office, as alive as ever. What exactly did the narrator think he was going to accomplish? When every path you can walk has been created for you long in advance, death becomes meaningless, making life the same. Do you see now? Do you see that Stanley was already dead from the moment he hit start?
難しいね。
マジで難しい話だわ。
難しく。
あけどレイアウトオフィスのあれだ。
ク
モデルデータが
レジットもあるし。モデルデータっていうとまあなんかそんな感じしちゃうけど、博物館的なイメージなのかな。
設定書みたいな。
エンディングが濃い。
あ、メンテナンス。
エンディングでエイリアンと戦うエンディングデザインしてたのクソ面白そうじゃん。
なんかウルトラデラックスの発表とかも書いてあるし、もちろんこれは原作にはなかった。
もうここで迷ってるんだけど俺は。
実際ここむずそうだな。
そうだね。
あったあった。
いや、それも展示やな。あ、こっちか。
Oh, look at these two. How they wish to destroy one another. How they wish to control one another. How they both wish to be free.
どうな
Can
るん
you
だ？
see? Can you see how much they need one another? No, perhaps not. Sometimes these things cannot be seen. But listen to me. You can still save those two. You can stop the program.
ここから戻るの？
Fail. Push escape and press quit. There's no other way to beat this game. As long as you move forward, you'll be walking someone else's path. Stop now and it'll be your only true choice.
ナム。
Choose it. Don't let time choose for you.
死ぬ死を選んだ。
エスケープキーを押してやめりゃスタンリー死なないのに。
いやちょっともうさすがに僕にはできませんねそれは。
受け入れるか。
お戻った。そんな気はしてたし。
これで一つのエンディングっていう感じかな。
なるほど
All
ね
of his。co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. When Stanley came to a set of
右
two
行ってみ
open
るか。
doors, he entered the... This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. Ah, yes, truly a room worth admiring. It had really been... But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left.
迷わ
無視
ず右へ。
していくな。
Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago. Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy, really, I'm not. I realize that investing your trust in someone else can be difficult, but the fact is that the story has been about nothing but you all this time. There's someone you've been neglecting, Stanley. Someone you forgot. What? Really? I was in the middle of something. Do you have zero consideration for others? Are you that convinced that I want something bad to happen to you? Why, I don't know how to convince you of this, but I really do want to help you, to show you something beautiful. Look, let me prove it. Let me prove that I'm on your side. Give me a chance. Now listen carefully, this is
これは
important.
どっちかってことね。
Stanley walked through the red door.
あ、また。どうする？
一瞬入ってこっち。
Aha, perhaps you misunderstood.
ひどい。
Stanley walked
Bullseye.
through the red door.
年末とかにやってる番組でどっちが高級品でしょうみたいな。
格付けチェックね。
あ、一瞬開けてすぐ正解の方に切り替えるやつね。
I stood
ハマちゃんがやるやつ。
あ
あ
じゃあ帰るわ。
through the red. All right, fine. Go ahead, Stanley.
今の青いドアやけど。
So badly what's out there. You want to find out what lies at the end of this road you've chosen? Well, don't let me stop you. You see, there's nothing here.
わ
I haven't even finished
マジで
building
なん
this
も
section
ない
of the map because you were never supposed to be here in the first
制作
place.
中かい。
Broken rooms, exposed developer textures.
Developer
Is this what you
texture.
wanted? Was it worth ruining the entire story I'd written out specifically for you? Do you not think I put a lot
ブ
of
チ
time
切れてるやん。そんなに言わんくて
and
も
in the end it was all
誰だくん。
because this is what you wanted to see. Help
作っ
me here,
たもん
Stanley.
の
Help me
とこに行
elucidate
かな
the
かったら
strange
な。
and unknowable
ムカ
desires
つくわ
of
な。
yours. What would have made this game better? What did you want to see? Vehicles? Skill trees? Work with me, you give me absolutely nothing so
ごめんっ
far.
て。
Tell you what, let me take a stab in the dark at a new design and you can give me some feedback. There we go. A third option. This already feels leaps ahead of where we were before. Go ahead, Stanley. Take it for a spin.
まあじゃあ
閉じ込められた。
Okay, I'm going to stop you there. Now, tell me about your experience with this new version. Would you say that the game benefited from allowing you more choices? Feel free to be honest. I'm looking for some real critical feedback here.
これ5段階評価ってことかな。
うんじゃあ1にし
ゲー
とく
ムの評価を求められている。
星1かよ。
One? I mean, I can understand if you had reservations, you saw ways the game could be improved to more fully express itself mechanically and artistically, but a 1? That's not even helpful. What am I supposed to do with that? But I guess it isn't my place to judge. Here, based on the data from your previous playthrough, I've compiled a new version. And to be perfectly candid, I think I've knocked it out of the park with this one.
上海フォームラン級。
ありがちな
ああ。
ランキングだ。
世界ランキングか。
Now, would you say that competitive leaderboard helped you feel motivated to keep walking through doors? Again, honest answer.
まあさっきよりはマシかな。
Hey, I nearly forgot. I've got a prototype of a new game I've been working on, and now would be a lovely opportunity to give it some playtesting. You wouldn't mind taking a look at it, would you? Perfect. Let me boot it up.
え急に別ゲーをやらされるのか。
In this game, the baby crawls left towards
わ
danger.
フリー素材っぽい
Click
赤
the
ちゃん。
button to move him back to the right, and if he reaches the fire, you fail. It's a very meaningful game, all about the desperation and tedium of endlessly confronting the demands of family life. I think the art world will really take notice. But of course, the message of the game only becomes clear once you've been playing it for about 4 hours. So why don't you give it 4 hours of play to make sure it's effective? Be sure to keep notes on your experience.
おお思ってるはいはい。
これ4時間やんの気狂うって。
しゃあね。
え
You heartless bastard. because you hate babies or purely to spite me? Because if it's the latter, well, I don't know what to do. I'm completely out of
しゃあない。
ideas. I can't think
ク
of
ソ
a
ゲー
single
を
thing
やら
that
される
might
身
be
に
an
もなってくれ。
experience for me. I'm not even going to try. I'm out. I'm out. I'm done.
ああ、拗ねちゃっ
It's
た。
over. Thank you for playing. Your input was extremely valuable. Oh, hey, since my game was so awful, why don't we play someone else's game, just to ease the pain? Let's see. What do we have here? Yes, this seems like it'll work. Let's give it a shot.
え、
Aha,
Oh.
fascinating. What do you think
マ
this
ジ
game
の
is
本
about?
格ゲームっぽいのが来た。
What's our backstory? What is our motivation?
ファイヤーウォッチかな、僕これやったよ。
But it seems obvious to me that the individual is a
やったのか。
creepy one spying on innocent civilians below you from up high in your creep tower, perhaps for some sort of twisted erotic purpose.
スタンリーパラブルやらせてくれ。
Yes, that must be it. What a fascinating venture into the
スタンリーパラブルやりたいんだ俺
experience
は。
of depravity. So far, I love
弾かれちゃっ
everything
たもん。
about this game, Stanley. And it seems there's even more. Come, let's venture outward and see what else is out there.
そう出れるってよ。
おう。ああね。
ファイヤーウォッチはなんか、こう一人孤独にこう森林で火災が起きないかを見張るんだけど、
No, it
なん
can't
か
be.
通信で会話するのが面白いというか、なんかそういう感じのゲー
It's
ム。
an open world game. Good God, quickly block it off. Oh, thank goodness, Stanley. What a close call. You really
壁
went
作られちゃった。
off that thing, that big open, just wandering around, no right or wrong directions, no path to follow. You can just go in any. Oh, thank heavens we avoided it.
オープンワールドを阻止された。
Okay, I'm going to get us out of here. Let's find another game.
あ、別ゲーにさらに。
Something with nice, big, insurmountable walls.
あ、壁のゲームを探しちゃってる
大き。な壁。
Okay, I think this will be just the thing.
え、
Wonderful.
え、
See, this
知
is
ってんな、これ
exactly
も。
what I had in mind. Just a nice big box for you to run around in. There isn't any possibility that you could get lost here. Now this is game design. Stanley, if you manage to get lost in this game, I will be
これ
phenomenally
ロケットリーグじゃねえか。
そうだね。ロケットリーグだね。
ロケットリーグじゃん。ロケットリーグって書いてるし。
What exactly do we do here? Let's see. There are lots of cars here in the back, but obviously there's no racetrack. Okay, I'm seeing that there's a ball of some kind back here. Is this game sports ball? Stanley, I think it's sports ball. Oh, what fun. We shall run the bases and do a touchdown together. Yes, I think surely we must. Okay,
スタンリーパラブルやらせてくれ。
fun.
あ、ボール来たよ。
ボール来た。
よっしゃ、ロケットリーグやろ
しゃあない。
なかなか人力でロケットリーグは難しいものだっていう。
う。車でやるもんだからな。
Are you doing it? Are you winning? Is this fun?
虚しい。
もう面白くないだろ、これは。
Story that I worked so hard on? Stanley, I have a thought, and I realize I'm not a sportsologist, but if one ball generates a certain amount of raw adrenal pleasure, then surely multiple balls makes for an even more euphoric sports experience. I'm going to try it out. Here comes another ball.
じゃあバトルドームって最高ってこと。
Yes.
ちょっとそれは
That really does feel
諸説あるだ
amazing,
ろ
doesn't it? Stanley, I'm like a child in a confectionery shop. I simply have to have more. Hold on. What are you doing?
Stanley, don't do that. I can't follow you there. I can't help you. How will you write a story without me? You can't do it. You know that. Stanley, come back.
暗っ。あ、落ちちゃった。来たねー。どこだ。
I wonder what he found. If what he wanted was to be the leading man in his own story, well, perhaps he's gotten it. Down in wherever he is right now. I wonder if he's happy with his choice, and if he's learned the heavy cost that comes with it. He'll understand soon what I was trying to tell him. He needs me. Someone who will wrap everything up at the end to make sense out of the chaos and the fear and the confusion. That's who I am. That is what I mean to this world. Oh, yes. Yes, I'll be back. There's no other way. Once this ends, after it all comes to a close, then I'll be back. The end will be here soon. Very soon. I can wait.
戻ってきた。
エンディングですね。
まあちょっと意地悪しすぎたな。
お、たまには従ってみます。
まあ単純に結構従ってみたルートも景色も見てみたいね。左だったよね。
そう1周目もね、最後の最後で逆らったから。
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss. Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
何やったっけ
2458だっけ2548だっけ覚えてねえな。
28? いや、わかんないわ。
2578とかじゃなかった違った。
He began wildly tearing through papers on the boss's desk, pulling books off the shelf, looking behind paintings, desperate for clues to his situation. But his attention was caught by a keypad behind the boss's desk. What could its purpose be? In fact,
これそろそろ端から出すことじゃないかっていうぐらい。
buried below his feet. And so the boss had assigned it an extra
お、
secret
来た来
pin
た来た。
言うな。
2845。
But of course, Stanley couldn't possibly have known that. Yet incredibly, by simply pushing random buttons on the
ここら
keypad,
辺だったよ。
Stanley happened to input the correct code by sheer luck. Amazing. He stepped into the newly opened passageway.
2回目です。なんかなんとかマインドルームみたいなのが最後あったイメージあるけど。
Stanley walked straight ahead through the
Mind-
large door that read Mind Control Facility.
マインドコントロール施設とかいうすげえ名前の施設だな。
The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television
お
screens.
お、かっ
What
こいい。
horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley thought to himself. Did he have the strength to find out?
こっちか。なんだこれ。
Now the monitors
Wow.
jumped to life, their true nature revealed. Each bore the number of an employee in
従業員番号。
Stanley's co-workers. The lives of so many individuals reduced to images on a screen. And Stanley, one of them, eternally monitored in this place.
なるほどね。
Freedom meant nothing. This mind control facility, it was too horrible to believe. It couldn't be true. Had Stanley really been under someone's control all this time? Was this the only reason he was happy with his boring job? That his emotions had been manipulated to accept it blindly? No. He refused to believe it. He couldn't accept it. His
それで
own
スタンリーはどうしたん
life
だ
in someone else's control? Never. It was unthinkable, wasn't it? Was it even possible? Had he
ノリ
truly
ノリじゃん。
spent his entire life
今までで一番機嫌いいじゃん。
blind to the world?
確かにそうだ。今まで怒らせすぎてた。
The heart of the operation, controls labeled with emotions, happy or sad or content, walking, eating, working, all of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never again exert its terrible power over another human life, for he would dismantle the controls once and for all.
あ、オフにしろってことね。
Blackness and a rising chill of uncertainty. Was it over? Yes! He had won! He had defeated the machine, unshackled himself from someone else's command. Freedom was mere moments away. And yet, even as the immense door slowly opened, Stanley reflected on how many puzzles still lay unsolved. Where had his co-workers gone? How had he been freed from the machine's grasp? What other mysteries did this strange building hold? But as sunlight streamed into the chamber, he realized none of this mattered to him, for it was not knowledge or even power that he had been seeking, but happiness. Perhaps his goal had not been to understand, but to let go. No longer would anyone tell him where to go, what to do, or how to feel. Whatever life he lives, it will be his. And that was all he needed to know. It was perhaps the only thing worth knowing. Stanley stepped through the open door. Stanley felt the cool breeze upon his skin, the feeling of liberation.
オープンワールドゲーか始まるのか。
This was exactly the way, right now, that things were meant to happen. And Stanley was happy.
いや終わり方は綺麗だったけど、まあ一番ありきたりな終わり方だったね。
まさしくノーマルエンドだね。
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
なんか意外とここら辺とかで、なんかあるやんけ。ん？何も打てないのか？これは。インプットとか書いてますけど。
あ
意外とこういう序盤のあたりに他のルートが隠されてたりするかもって思ったけど、椅子邪魔。
あ、入った。入ったね。1個。
どっか触った？キーボードか。
うん、キーボードはそりゃ移動してるから触っとるけど。
あ、キーボードってのはその画面内にあるキーボードってこと。そこは関係ないのか。
そうだね。ここはもう。
まあしゃあない。何もわからないわ。
Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors. He entered the door on his left.
右か。
This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. Wow, yes, this room. What a beautiful room. What a gorgeous, gorgeous room. Thank goodness Stanley had taken this detour on his way to the meeting room. Life without having experienced this room was now too horrible even to consider.
さっきとちょっと言ってること違う気がするな。もうここら辺がダメ出し入ってた気がするさっき。 こっち行ってみるか。
And so he detoured through the maintenance section, walked straight ahead to the opposite door, and got back on track.
正しいルートに戻るか、それとも乗るか。
乗るでしょ。
謎のエレベータ
あそ
ー。
この部屋知ってるし。
But Stanley didn't want to go back to the office. He wanted to wander about and get even further off track. So now in order to get back, he needed to go, from here it's, left. Oh, no. No, it's to the right. My mistake. No, no.
もう
Why would I have ever said it was to the right?
脚本を覚えきれてない。
まあ確かにな、めちゃくちゃ複雑なマップだったもんな。
身がカサカサ言おうと。
右左下、左右。
Okay, yes. I've got it now. This story is absolutely, definitely this way.
ここなの。全然右感ないけど。ちょっと待って。
全部調べていく。
なんかないかなって。あ、結構先の結構先のネタバレを。まあ、分かった分かった。これ見とくよ。
今日八方囲まれてますけど、ネタバレに。
もう全然ダメだわ。
How about rather than waste my time trying to salvage this nonsense, we'll just restart the game from the beginning. And this time, suppose we don't wander so far off track, Okay, from the top.
104番さん、ファイヤーされちゃってる。
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
432番さん、ちょっと攻めすぎだろ、机。
波平みてえだ。
あのね。何仕事してんだみたいなやつね。あ、さっきのついたとこついてない。
消えてますね。
やっぱなんか条件があるんやろな。ああ、消しちゃった。消しちゃった。
When Stanley... Wait, what? No, I restarted. I swear I definitely restarted the game over, completely fresh. Everything should be...
めっちゃ。
Oh, did something change? Stanley, did you change anything when we were back in that room with all the
いや、ちょっと
monitors?
何もしなかったですけ
The
ど。
story somewhere or Hold on. Why am I asking you? I'm the one who wrote the story.
ああ、も
It was right here just a
う
minute.
再起動しよう、再起動。
I know for sure that it's here
困った時は再起動や。
Okay then.
何もしてないのに壊れました。
Come, Stanley. Let's find the story.
選択肢多いな。
ここ行きてーけど無理だな。じゃあここ行ってみようか。うわ、これ迷うわ絶対。いや迷うとかいう次元じゃない。
I'll say it. This is the worst adventure I've ever been on. I can promise you there definitely was a story here before. Do we just...
あ、
Do we need to restart the game again? Well, I
Oh,
find it
なるほど。
unlikely that we'll ever progress by starting over and over
ああ、
again.
なるほど。
But it's got to be better than this. Okay, let's give it a shot. Why not?
あ
リ、スタートだ。
リスタートされちゃった。特に何もできるわけじゃないと。
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
またついてないな。なんか書いてるな。 あれ
Okay, yep, it's worse.
もう混乱しちゃってるって。
It's possible the story is back where we just came from. Why don't we go back the other direction and see if we missed anything?
ストーリーも家に帰ってるかもしれないから。
ストーリーが。
Aha! I knew
Eh?
we'd miss something. The story. Here it
あ、もう興奮してる。すごいな。
No, wait, never mind. Not the story. Okay, let's head back the other way and retrace our steps.
ああ。
Now this, well, I'll be honest, I don't recognize this place at all. Is
こん
this
な
the
質
story?
感のとこない
I
よ。
don't think so. I can't quite recall, but I believe my story took place in an office building. Is that correct? Hmm. Do you
逆に
remember,
どういう
Stanley?
場所なのこの
Do you know what?
材質。
Since I've completely forgotten what we were supposed to be doing, how about this? You win!
おお、勝った。
Congratulations!
イエーイ。
急な勝利。
A lot of hard work, and it
唐
really
突
paid
な
off.
勝利を。
So, good job. Oh no. No, I don't feel right about this at all. We both know you didn't put in any actual work for that win. Some people win fair and square, and this was not one of those situations. Okay? I'm getting weirded out by whatever this place is. I don't care what might happen this time. I have to restart.
お、めちゃくちゃわかりやすい動線書いてくれてる。
All right, I've got a solution. This time, to make sure we don't get lost, I've employed the help of the Stanley Parable Adventure Line. Just follow the line. How simple is that?
TM マークついてるけど。
You see?
いいね。
The line knows where the story is. It's over in this direction. Onward, Stanley, to destiny. Though, here's a thought. Wouldn't wherever we end up be our destination, even if there's no story there?
お、
Or to put it another way, is the story of no destination
おー、
still a story?
結構
Simply
適
by the
当に
act
書
of
きすぎでしょ。
moving forward, are we implying a
もう
journey
ここら辺遊んでるじゃん。
such that the destination is inevitably conjured into being via the very manifestation of the nature of life itself? Whoa, 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 whoa. Hang on. That got a bit weird back there. Well, I'd like to apologize. Not sure where I was going with all that. You know what? I think what we need right now is a bit of music to lighten the mood.
ああ、音楽が
ああ、
急
軽い
に。。
ちゃんと沿ってる。
Cut the music, go back and look at that fern.
シダを見ようって言われて
Wait,
る。
what? We're back at the office? No, no, no. Line, you do know we're looking for the Stanley Parable, right? The story? Is any of this ringing a bell? Oh,
ああ、
またここ来ちゃった。
またここじゃねえか。
this to us. And after we trusted you, after
裏になれ
everything
た。
we've been through, you... Oh, I can't take this anymore.
結構ちゃんと来たのに。
Restart.
あれ、何も寄ってく
You
れ
know
ない。
what, Stanley? I say forget the adventure line. What's it ever done for us? We're intelligent people, right? Why can't we make up our own
Adventure line.
story? Something exciting, daring, mysterious. Ooh, this all sounds perfectly doable. Why don't we simply start wandering in, well, I don't know. How about this direction?
別の方向に。
Now, yes, this is exciting. Just me and Stanley forging a new path, a new story. Well, it could be
ああ、
anything.
もう早
What do you
速迷っ
want
て
our
るんです
story
け
to
ど。
be? Go wild. Use your imagination. Whatever it might be, Stanley.
回ってね。
I'm ready for it.
なんて
ちょっと
つまらないマップなんだ。
おお。
Oh, no, not you again. Stanley, I'd also like to veto the line from having any role in our awesome new story.
また LINE
No
出てきちゃっ
lines
た
or
よ。
monitor rooms. Just don't acknowledge it. We should be fine.
LINE くんちょっとノリノリすぎだね。
暴れてるな。
あ
上行っちゃった。
LINE くん自分の道行き過ぎでしょ。それは。
Ah, a choice. We get to make a decision. From here, the story is in our control. How important we mustn't squander the
確かにな。
opportunity. In fact, I believe I need a minute to think here. Just walk in circles for a minute. Okay.
1分。
So I know that each door has to lead somewhere, which means that somewhere at the place where we're trying to go, there must be a reverse door that leads here. And that in turn means that our destination corresponds with that counter-inverted reverse door's origin. So starting from the right, let us ask, will taking the right door lead us to where we're going? And since the answer is clearly yes, then by
そうなん
all
だ。
accounts, the door on the right is the correct one. Another victory for logic. Come, Stanley, our destiny awaits.
やだよ。やだよ。
読みに行きなよ。なんか書いてるよ。
Oh, hold up, what's this? The confusion ending. You're telling me that's what this is? It's all one giant ending? And we're supposed to restart the game, what, eight times?
ナンセンスな哲学と音
Really
楽。
how all this goes? It's all determined? So now, according to the schedule, I restart again. Then what? Am I just supposed to forget? Well, what if I don't want to forget? My mind goes blank simply because
7回目に本屋を見つけず飽きて去るってあるんだけど。普通すぎるだろ。
漆黒の闇を見つけ。
Why don't I get to decide? Why don't I get a say in all of this? Is it really? No, it can't
どっ
be.
ちも同じじゃねえか、
I
しか
don't
も。
want it to be. I don't want the game to keep restarting. I don't want to forget what's going on. I don't want to be trapped like this. I won't restart the game. I won't
そうだ。
do it. I won't
そうだ。
do it. I
抗え、抗
won't
え。
do it. And the timer stopped.
Oh.
Does that mean did we do it? Did we break the
やるやん。
the whatever it is that made this
も
schedule?
うさらなる
How would we
強大な闇が見
Will
えたってい
someone
う
come for us?
ライアーゲーム
Something
の
happen?
最終回みたいな感じになっちゃったけど。
そうな
So,
の。
okay. I guess now we just wait. You know, I suppose in some way that this is a kind of story. Wouldn't you agree? I'm not quite sure if we're in the destination or the journey, though they're always saying that life is about the journey and not the destination. So I hope that's where we are right now. We'll find out, won't we? Eventually. Well, in the meantime, if you
あ、これはどっちだ？アドベンチャーライン君は聞いちゃったけど。
all of his
そうなん
coworkers
だ。
were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to
あ、
go to the meeting.
どうやら
Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
戻ったっぽいね。
敗北か。ナレーター君と少しは仲良くなれたと思ったのに。
When Stanley came to a set of two open
左へ行こ
doors, he entered the door on his left.
うわ、こんなん一生このゲームできるじゃん。ちょっと選択肢多すぎなんだけど。
そうだね。
マジで。
二択が多すぎる。
Yet there was not a single
一
person
回
there
リフト乗っ
either.
たけど、
Feeling
あの
away
リフトで
in
途
disbelief,
中で降りなかったらどう
Stanley
なるのか
decided
と
to
か
go。up to his
そういうのもあるし。
boss's office, hoping he might find an
こう
opening
ここ下行ってしない
下行くとかね。
Stanley walked
そうだね。
upstairs to his boss's office.
マジでね。ウルトラデラックスになってさらに増えた
But
からね、エ
Stanley
ンディン
just
グが。
couldn't do it. He considered the possibility of facing his boss. Admitting he had left his post during work hours, he might be fired for that. And in such a competitive economy, why had he taken that risk? All because he believed everyone had vanished.
こっちか
His
な。
boss would think he was crazy. And then something occurred to Stanley. Maybe, he thought to himself, maybe I am crazy. All of my co-workers blinking mysteriously out of
無限ルー
existence
プ
in a single moment for no reason at all. None of it made any logical sense. And as Stanley pondered this, he began to make other strange observations. For example, why couldn't he see his feet when he looked down? Why did doors close automatically behind him wherever
確かにね。
he went? And for that matter, these rooms were starting to look pretty familiar. Were they simply repeating? No, Stanley said to himself, this is all too strange. This can't be real. And at last, he came to the conclusion that had been on the tip of his tongue.
なんだ
He just hadn't found the words for it. I'm dreaming! He yelled. This is all a dream. Oh, what a relief Stanley felt to have finally found an answer, an explanation. His co-workers weren't actually gone.
じゃあ夢から覚めるためには
He wasn't crazy after all. And he thought to himself,
夢の中に
"I'll
も
wake up soon
スタンドを持
and
って
go
こないと
back to my boring real-life job pushing buttons.
It's 13.
I may as well enjoy this while I'm still
第3部
lucid." So, he imagined himself flying and began to gently float above the ground. Then he imagined himself
あ、浮いてる
soaring through space on a magical starfield.
一瞬浮い
And
た
it
ね
too appeared it was so much fun, and Stanley marveled that he had still not woken up. How was he remaining so lucid? And then perhaps the strangest question of them all entered Stanley's head. One he was amazed he hadn't asked himself sooner. Why is there a voice in my head dictating everything that I'm doing and thinking? Now the voice was describing itself being considered by Stanley, who found it particularly strange. I'm dreaming.
これを聞こえていることをスタンリーが疑問を持ち始めている
How it's describing my thoughts, he thought. And while he thought
いよいよ
all
だね
very odd and wondered if this voice spoke to all people in their dreams, the truth was that of course this was not a dream.
あ、夢じゃなかった
Was Stanley simply deceiving himself, believing that if he's asleep he doesn't have to take responsibility for himself? Stanley is as awake right now as he's ever been in his life. Now hearing the voice speak these words was quite a shock to Stanley. After all, he knew for certain beyond a doubt that this was in fact
あ、また夢になった
Did the voice not see him float and make the magical stars just a moment ago? How else would the voice explain all that? This voice was a part of himself too. Surely, if he could just... He would prove it. He would prove that he was in control, that this was a dream. So he closed his eyes gently, and he invited himself to wake up. He felt the cool weight of the blanket on his skin, the press of the mattress on his back,
起きるか
the fresh air of a world outside this one.
起きろ起きろ起きろ
Let me wake up, he thought to himself. I'm through with this dream. I wish it to be over. Let me go back to my job. Let
いや
me
それ
continue
も
pushing the buttons.
それも眠たい仕事やけどなめちゃくちゃ
I want my apartment and my wife and
あ
my
奥さんい
job.
るんだ
All I want is my life exactly the way it's always been. My life is normal. I am normal. Everything will be fine. I am okay. Stanley began screaming. Please, someone wake me up. My name is Stanley. I have a boss. I have an office. I am real.
ああもう発狂し始めちゃっ
Please,
た
just someone tell me I am real. I must be real. I must be. Can anyone hear my voice? Who am I? Who am I? And everything went black. This is the story of a woman named Mariella.
なんか全然違うのが始まった
Mariella woke up on a day
てっきりまた
like
リスタートかなって思ったの
She
に
rose, got dressed, gathered her belongings, and walked to her place of work. But on this particular day, her walk was interrupted by the body of a man who had stumbled through town talking and screaming to himself, and then collapsed dead on the sidewalk. And although she would soon turn to go call for an ambulance, for just a few brief moments she considered the strange man. He was obviously crazy. This much she knew. Everyone knows what crazy people look like. And in that moment, she thought to herself how lucky she was to be normal. I am sane. I am in control of my mind. I know what is real and what isn't. It was comforting to think this, and in a certain way, seeing this man made her feel better. But then she remembered the meeting she had scheduled for that day. The very important people whose impressions of her would affect her career, and by extension, the rest of her life. She had no time for this, so it was only a moment that she stood there, staring down at the body. And then she turned and ran.
なんか世にも奇妙な物語みたいな終わり方をしやがった。
ああ、そうだな。
あれ電話鳴ってた。
あれ本当だ。
右の方、どこだ。
これか。
それか。
Good morning. Thank you for contacting the Future Happiness Foundation. We are confirming your shipment of 1,327 cardboard boxes to your place of work. Can you verify that this is correct?
フューチャーなんとかコーポレーションとか言ってたな。
Understood. Your order will be canceled immediately. Thank you again for contacting the Future Happiness Foundation.
何だったんだ。
わからん。けど何かが変わっているわ。ナレーションもせんし。
ナレーションない
お、
ニューコンテンツ。
New content? What does that mean? New content.
もう無論無印の方にはなかったね。ウルトラデラックスで追加されたって
お
いう。
お。
そうだよね。
そうだね。なかったなかった。
お、本当だ。ウルトラデックスがプレイしてくれてありがとうとか言ってる。味のある絵をしている。2022年なんだ。
だいぶ空いてるんだよな。
ゲーム機向けにも。
スイッチでも遊べるんだっけ。
うわ。ああ、よくあるなんかアトラクションの入り口みたいな感じ。
確かに。
I'm very excited to see the thrilling new ultra deluxe content.
めちゃんこワクワクしちゃうなんて字幕あっていいのか。
Nothing special yet, but I'm sure it's just the beginning of a mesmerizing adventure. Is it
ちょっと
broken? What's going on here?
すいません。
Shall we-
ジムイさ
shall
ん
we be moving somewhere
動かないんですけど。
else? There we go.
担
あ、よか
当の人
ったよかった。
Finally, at long last, it's on to the new content. I've never been more ready.
やろうぜ。
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
I have to say, initial impressions of Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe, mostly tedious. It's as if oh,
まあまあまあ、こっからやから
see
ね。
the content. Give me the content, Stanley. All right, all right. Let's see. It's the jump circle.
お、ジャンプできる。あ、ジャンプしてやろう。
さすが新コンテンツ。逆説的に原作だとジャンプができなかったんだよな、どう頑張っても。
せめて何かあってくれよ。
Is that it? Surely that's not all the new content. There has to be something else, right?
まあまあまあまあまあまあ。最初はね、
1個目だからね。
1個目だから、どんどん難しくなってくるんだろうね。
Another elevator.
ちょっとポータルみたいなシステムだな。
Initial impressions of this game are not positive.
まあまあまあ
It's
まあ
just elevators and jumping. Is this
まあ
what
そういう
passes
こと
for
もあるって
exciting new content? If this is new content,
最初だけでね判断しちゃいけないから。
hours of new content right there. Hell, I could count to 30 trillion. You could put that on the box. The Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe, now with over 1,000 hours of new
1000時
content.
間っ
And
て
oh wait, there's more. Very good. Yes, I knew there had to be something else. Let's see it. I'm ready for whatever it
Oh.
is.
さあなんだろうな。
That's it? Oh, you've got to be kidding me. You see, Stanley? This is what happens when greedy video game developers with no respect for their fan base rush a cheap expansion to market for no reason other than to make an
もう
easy
どういう気持ちで
It started on the level of craftsmanship.
これを喋っているんだお前は。
I'm looking right now at the game's achievements, and it's hard to believe one of them actually says, "Test achievement, please ignore." What quality assurance department signed off on this? I'm infuriated and I'm offended, and I intend to find these people on Twitter and hold
X
them
ね。
personally accountable.
あ、ここ1年でなってくる。
I built up too much anticipation around the new content, I'm afraid. It could never have lived up to such expectations. If you're still with me, why don't we just reset the game and we'll try to get back to what the Stanley Parable is really about. No frills, no gimmicks. Just you and me having a great time together like always. What do you say, friend?
おお、なんだ。
マップが変わってる。
Stanley, come over here. In the vent. I want to show you something.
見る見る。
Okay, you remember how cheap and unsatisfying the new Ultra Deluxe content turned out to be.
いや
Well, it
覚え
got
てる
me
覚えてる。
thinking
さっきのこと
about
だ
the
ね。
past and how much better the Stanley Parable used to be. So I made something special and tucked it away here where the game's developers won't find it. Just our little secret. Take a look. I call it the Memory Zone. It's where I've been storing all my favorite memories so I can relive the peak experiences of my life whenever I want.
ザ・メモリーゾーン。
Experiences like the launch of the Stanley Parable on PC.
雰囲気変わったね。
スタンリー・パラボル9番にめちゃくちゃ誇りを持ってるんだな、こ
You
の
see,
人は。
Stanley, doesn't the Memory Zone remind you
だ
of
い
how
ぶ評価され
wonderful
たからね、
Stanley
実際。
Parable was before it was solid with a cheap re-release? Remember back in October of 2013 when the game originally launched? Back then, video games had integrity. Back then, it all meant something. Oh, the waste.
「ニューヨーク・タイムズ」本当か。
さっきのエンディングが飾ってあるんだよ。
Deals tough choices。 このロケーションは何なんだろうな一体。
And over here is where I keep reviews of the Stanley Parable.
10分の10
Like this
すごい。
stunning triumph of games journalism. 10 out of 10 from Destructoid.com.
これ以外の
James Stephanie Sterling
他のレビュー読むな
writes, and I quote, "Where so many games that aspire to be more than games end up less than any form of art.
す
Stanley
ごい。
Parable strives and then succeeds
すごい
to
な
be
マジで
every
栄
game
光じゃん。
ever created.
普通に過去の栄光とかでもないし
Every game ever created. That's how grand and all-encompassing the original
オリジナル派
Stanley
と
Parable was.
ウル
It
デ
was
ラックス派で
literally every game
こんなにも
ever
格差が
created. It was Skyrim, it was Persona 3, it was all of them.
ペルソナ
And now
3
スカイリムとペルソナ3なんだ。
it's no games at all. It isn't even the Stanley Parable anymore. It's just a husk now. A lifeless husk with an hour of new elevator content.
確かにな、神ゲーだったのに新しいコンテンツでジャンプするだけのゲーム出たら怒るのもしょうがないのかもしれない。
そうだね。
あれ
ちょ
あれ
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 別ゲーが
あ
飾られ
そうだそうだ、
てるな
そうだわ。さっき荒木が一回言ったエンディングでロケットリーグとかやらされるとこあったじゃん。
マイクラが飾られてるんですけど、
そうロケットリーグとか、ファイアウォッチと
あったね
かやらされたとこあったけど、あれが9番だともともとマイクラとポータルだったのよ。あそこでやらされるゲームが。
マジですごいゲームの二大巨頭って感じだな。パソゲーの。
アップデートされてるってことか、時代が。
それで高校に飾ってあるの。
これがスタンリーとさっきの女性
ああ
か。おお、なんか
制作画面か。
ぽいものが。
ちょっとマヤのなんかああいう画面あるよ
あ、戻った。
な。XYZ からの方向のカメラが、
ああ、
Mac で映ってるわ。
うん。いや、Mac なんだね。いいね。
普通にこれまだ見てないエンディングの情報とかありそうだな。
The Stanley Parable is both a richly stimulating commentary on the nature of choice in games and one that offers some of the most enjoyable, surprising, and rewarding choices I've ever been confronted with in a game. 9 out of 10. Don't you get it, Stanley? The game was perfect. It didn't need anything else. It didn't need new content. It just needed to be left alone. To spend the rest of time collecting dust in the hallowed hall of beloved video game memories.
入れないね。
戻るしかないな。入れないなら。
These were simpler times, Stanley.
あ、下がい
What
て
I wouldn't give to go back, to have it all over again. Wait, hang on. I don't recall this part of the memory zone before. What's this? What's down here? Oh no. Oh God, no. Stanley, it's a collection of reviews from Steam, the online video game distributor.
Steam の
I
レビ
haven't
ュー
looked
か。
at these in years. I can't even imagine what's been collecting down here. Surely these reviews were glowing as well, weren't they?
ああ。
乗っ取り込む。
Honestly, I could not be bothered to play this game to full completion. The narrator is obnoxious and unfunny, with his humor and dialogue proving to be more irritating than entertaining.
ああ。
Funny!
ブチギレて、ほら、ここにいいねもあるよ。
I'm trying to make a serious work of art. I suppose I could write up a handful
あ
of
ー
gags
俺はおもろいと思うから
to Stanley
結
Parable,
構。
but the game is already such a densely layered web of profound philosophical insights that I can't even imagine
チー
where
ム
I'd
の
have
レビュー
to
が
start them.
のコンテナがたく
チー
さんある。
ムで売らせてもろといて、これはない。
すごいチームのことをネガキャンしてないこれ。
ああ、いいねも悪いやつもいっぱいある。
Let's see what this one says. While the idea of a game is good, for someone who prefers non-linear games, this preachiness gets annoying fast. Preachy? Stanley? I'm not preachy, am
でも
I?
説教臭くはあるんじゃないかな。
If I'm preachy, honestly, you
そういうルートもあるよな、まあ。
うん。
This is
まあ
actually
ね。
quite shocking.
まあけどそこがいいとこだとは思
I
う。
always, well, to be honest, I had always thought of the game's dialogue as being rather terse to begin with. You can't know how much fluff I cut from the game to get it to feel as light and airy as it. Well,
ああ、もう出てるよ。そういうとこやよ。
maybe it wasn't.
ああ、けど。
Dear, what an awful memory to have to hold on to. these black marks on my otherwise unimpeachable track record. I feel like a failure. Like I let these people down. Perhaps the Stanley parable isn't quite as sterling as I always... What's this one got to say? You constantly have to stop doing anything so the narrator can catch up with his long-winded explanations of what's happening. I wish there was a skip button. A skip button? Well, yes. Yes, I think we can do that. If I'm truly too preachy, then maybe letting you skip ahead for just a moment, surely it couldn't hurt. Not if it means we can strike these negative reviews from the record. Only positive reviews of the Stanley parable. That's my motto today, and it's always been my motto. I'd do anything for the customer, Stanley. Yes, a skip button we shall
お
have.
導入するのか。
And here it is. Go ahead and give it a shot. I'll pop you forward in time so that the second my incessant droning starts to bore you, with just the push of a button, you'll have zipped right past it. It's what the players have been asking for, and I'm very proud to have delivered. No more listening to me rambling on and on and on. No, 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 no. The Stanley Parable is a game for the people. And if
あえてスキップしてない今。
あえてね。
that's what they're going to get. Well, don't sit around waiting for me to shut up. Go ahead and make me shut up. Here, we'll pretend that I've just begun an interminable monologue, and it goes something like this. The story and the choices, or what have you, and therefore by becoming it is, so on and so forth, until inevitably, we all until the end of time, at which time everything all at once, so now you see, blah, 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 blah. We've eaten too much and it can't be just yet. No, no, until 245. Got the logic of elimination working backwards, the deduction therefore becomes impossible to manufacture. It went on for nearly 10,000 years, until just yesterday, here and there, forward and back, and never a moment before lunchtime. It can't be. It's the only thing there is. How many billions left until so much more than forever ago? Which is why I say... the story and the choices, or what have you, and therefore by becoming it is, so on and so forth, until we all until the end of time, at which time everything all at once,
負けねえぞ俺は。せめてループするまで待つ。
We've eaten too much and it can't be just yet.
したんじゃないか。
したね。
ああ。だからランダムにチョイスされてるのは。
Oh, you're back, you see. You were only frozen in time for a few minutes, but it was plenty of time for me to deliver a long, rambling monologue full of unnecessary verbal flourishes and lengthy ruminations on the nature of choice in video games. Of course, I happen to believe it was perhaps one of my more profound such ruminations. Not that, of course, you need a description of it, but if I had to describe it, I'd say it was perhaps less of a rumination and more of a treatise. Or maybe a manifesto. Look, I'll outline it for you very briefly, and you can tell me what you think. Okay, so my theory is that any...
字幕出てないのは無理ですね。
Well, there, sport. You really did catch me rambling on a bit, didn't you? But that's the power of the button. The minute I start to go off on a thoughtless display of self-absorption, it's right at your fingertips to go poof, and it's all over. Oh, I can't wait to see what Cookie 9 will say about this.
さっきの人か。
Whether they'll edit the rating of their Steam.
いや、ないんじゃない多分。
Some of the wording, perhaps. To be honest, I don't even know if one can change their review in the first place. I guess I should become better educated on exactly how Steam works. Perhaps that would have been the smart thing to check on before I went about this whole exercise of making the skip button. Although I have to imagine that after seeing this exciting new technology at work, surely whoever it is runs Steam.
めちゃくちゃ Steam の話をするな、この人は。
いいのか。
何されたんだ一体。
このゲームスチーム以外でも売るんじゃないのかっていうのが不安だけど。
キリがいいとこまで聞きたいのに全然キリが良くない。
Something along the lines of this game is the best game. Let me start over. How about this? From the ashes of depravity.
あ、よしよし。
Okay, welcome back, Stanley. Now, I should say that the amount of time the button has been skipping through is becoming longer and longer. That last one was, well, I want to say maybe 30, 45 minutes?
さっきこう時間あるからね。
Unendurable by any means, but Well, there's really only so much I can ramble on to myself about. I know it's shocking, isn't it? But at any rate, I do suggest that we not press.
ああ、押してほしくなさそ
I think the skip button has been aptly demonstrated, and
ま
we
あ
can say
話飛ばされるわ
goodbye
け
to
だ
it.
し
And wait,
時間も長くなってきてるし
where did the door go?
う。ほんとドアなくなってっ
Wasn't
て
there
る。
a door that led into this room? I do feel quite certain that there was one here before. How else would we have gotten into the room in the first place? I don't think one can enter a room without a door of some sort, or a window or something like that. Do you see a window anywhere? A porthole? A sufficiently large crack in the wall? I'll take any of these. All I want is for us to move on and to please step away from the skip button, to go anywhere other than the skip button. There was a door here before, wasn't there? I swear there was. Where did it go? Can you maybe just ram your way
いや
through?
そんな能力はないですね。
Is there any possibility that you could say slam your body into the wall until enough damage is done for
ちょ
you
っと
to
そんな
be
デ
able
バ
to
ッグみ
leave?
たいなことは。
Please, I'll take any option at all. I'm asking you to work with me here. We need a door. We need a door of some kind. I can work with any kind of door as long as it can open and lead from one room to another. I'm going to step away for just a moment, and I'm going to try to find us a door. I don't know how exactly to remove a door and place it in a different wall, but I will find a way, I promise.
OK で
You
す。
just need to not do anything. Don't press the skip button. Please, please, please do not press the skip button. Just wait here for me, and don't press the skip button.
めっちゃ降ってきたな。
Yes, good. I'll be right back.
押してー。1分ぐらい
押して
待つか。
ええんやで
せめて1分ぐらい待とう。
ちょうど時計もあることやし、1分剥がれる。
わかりやすい
さすがにね、1分ぐらい待つよ、俺も。
ああ。4時間は待たないけど。
あ、けどドアを1分で持ってくることは無理だな。急に冷静になったわ。ああ、マジで時計の音しかしね
うん。
え。なんか BGM とか流してもいいのに、
こういう時こそは。
歯医者の BGM とか流さない？
えオルゴール調のやつ
そうそう。無駄に時間がなんか感覚が乱されるあの音楽を。1分が経とうとしている。すまねえ。バレんやろ。
バレリアル。
バレるよ
Stanley, please don't push the button again. It's been 12 hours. You've just been frozen
Oh,
there. I don't
マジ
know
で
why the skips are getting longer, but they're really
12時間ぐらい
getting
経っ
longer,
た
and my
この
God,
時間な
there's
の
no
か。
way out of the room. Stanley, the door is gone. It's completely gone.
見つからなかっ
I've
た。
looked at it from every angle. I've checked every one of those walls 1,000 times.
やるな。
There's no door, Stanley. There's no door. There's just you and the button, and if you keep pressing it, I have no idea what will happen. I have no idea how long I'll be made to sit here. And more than anything else, I don't know how to stop you from pressing the button again. I can't control anything in this room, Stanley. I can't touch it. And I have to believe, I have to know that sooner or later, no matter how much I plead with you, you're going to press the button again. Why would you? I've been thinking and thinking.
確かにな。
I don't know what I can do to convince you otherwise. Oh my
一人だけめちゃくちゃ時間感じるけど、もう一人はスキップボタンで一瞬とか頭おかしくなるのは確かよ。
Why was it so important for me to fix the problem? Why did Cookie Nine's opinion
もう
matter so much to me?
すごいね、12時間経ってもまだクッキーナインへの恨みは。
Who they are. What would it ever really matter?
なんで聞いちゃったんだ
I'm
そんな意
fixating
見
on
を
every tiny negative thing that anyone ever says about me. The merest mention of one of my imperfections, and I become as impetulant as a child, wild and impulsive. I can't help myself. I can't stop myself from lashing out with a vengeful fury to alter and to change and to break anything unbroken, if only it pleases this one person who made a single negative comment. What does such an impulse serve? For whose benefit is this?
クッキーナインもな、そんな深く考えてないって。多分否定的なレビュー書いてる人は正直そんな考えてないよ。
あ
スタンディパーブのことなんて忘れてんじゃねえかな
否定 的なこと書いてる人はその作品が好きすぎるかその作品どうでもいいかの二択だから。
そうだね。
Surely you'll press that button again, leaving me here. And surely you'll put your own desire to see what's next ahead of my need for company, for companionship. Surely you'll not be moved by my howls of fitful anxiety that you sit with me and just stay here. Oh, no, 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 I know you too well. You'll be leaving me in... Oh, my God. And it's all
ああクッキーナインの恨みが。
that I couldn't get out of my head. I just couldn't ignore the negative feedback. Why was it so important for me to fix the problem? Why did Cookie Nine's opinion matter so much to me? I've never even met Cookie Nine. I have no idea
あ、
who
い
they
かんセリフ
are.
やな。
What would it ever really matter? But here I am,
押すしかないのか。
every tiny negative thing that anyone ever says about me, the merest mention of one of my imperfections, and I become as impetulant as a child, wild and impulsive. I can't help myself. I can't stop myself from lashing out with a vengeful fury to alter and to change and to break anything unbroken, if only it pleases this one person who made a single negative comment. What does such an
ああもうループし
impulse
とるわ
serve? But whose
確実
benefit
に。
is this? Oh, Stanley, you're back.
あ
You're back. Oh my goodness. I have someone to talk
あ
to again.
今度あ
Stanley, I
あ
think
あ
it's
枯れ
been
て。
for 2 weeks. I've been sitting here all that time, just sitting here, not a single person to speak with. And you'd think
すま
that
ね
that's just how it's always been, right? Me talking and you saying nothing. Would you think that it's exactly the same as always? Doesn't that feel like what we've already been doing? Me just talking? But it isn't, Stanley. It isn't the same at all. It isn't even close. Because I know you can't hear me once you push that button. That's what I'm realizing now, Stanley. I'm realizing that I needed to know that someone was listening. I needed there to be a vessel through which my words were moving. It was the vessel I needed, Stanley. Not the outcomes, not the
実
story.
際そういう
None
こと
of
ある
that
よな。
matters
ある
anymore.
ね。
I'll give it all up. I'll give up every
生き
branch
ては
of
大事よ
path.
な。
I'll burn my story to the ground. One single thing I need, and God, I can see now that I need it more than anything, is to know that someone else is taking it in. These words that I'm saying, I need to know you can hear me. Because maybe, Stanley, maybe, if you can hear me, then maybe it means I'm real. Maybe I'm not just a fiction. Was I scared of that all along? Perhaps, yes. Perhaps I've been scared this whole time. That if I stop speaking, I'll slip backwards into the silence and be consumed by it. I can't be taken by it, Stanley. I can't lose myself in a
他人
stretch
が
of emptiness between
干
you
渉
and
する
me.
ことによって
When you press
認
that
識することができ
button,
る
you're
ということ
still
か。
right there, but I know you're so tremendously far away. And in those moments, the emptiness folds itself outward in between the two of us. And I am
ああけど
suspended in its
次のスキップボタンを押したら多分もう
I
大
can
変な
feel
こと
the
大変なことっていうかもしかしたら彼はいないかもしれない。
outward and decaying.
何時間経つか何日かもしれない。
そう
Less real. Yet to speak to you now,
3じゃなくて定山だもんな、多分。
I am truly and completely here.
年とかもありえるんじゃないか。
I am
だって
someone. I am something.
12時間
I
が
am being
1週
listened
間とかに
to.
な
I
っちゃ
am
ったんで
being
しょ多分。
recognized. The emptiness
そう
between
だ
us
ね。
has collapsed, and I feel right now like I am not
普
a
通に
work of
10
fiction.
倍
I
以上
feel
の
as
時間
though
が
I
20 倍ぐらいの
occupied
時間が
space
流
in
れて
this
るか
world
ら
again, and I have cast a shadow onto the wall. You see what I'm saying, don't you?
1年2年ぐらい次は経つかもしれないってこと
I'm
か。
so clear about it now, Stanley. I feel as certain about this as I've ever felt about anything at all. I feel renewed. I feel restored, and already I can sense the looming silence as you will press the button for the next
ちょっと
time.
おかしくなっ
What
ちゃ
a
ってる。
terrible dread it strokes in my heart to think of it.
微妙に中身がありそうでない感じが続くね。
Let us sit in silence together here for just a moment.
なんか同時にあえてスキップしたくなるようなつまらない話をしてるような感じもする。
じゃあ1分間だけ静寂を楽しもうか。すまない。ちょっと。
すまないさん。このゲームね、エンディングが凄まじい量あるからね。
いやすごいよな。
うん。
昔漫画の短編でこんな話 見た気がするな。寝るとめちゃくちゃ時間が経ってるっていう、夢の中でめちゃくちゃ時間が経ってるっていう人の話みたいな。
ああ、
どんどん
僕もそれ
その時間が長くなっていっちゃうんだよな。
人におすすめされて読んだわ、それ。面白かった。有名な人だよね。
そうそうそう
ちょっと名前が正確に。
気になるな。
スキップしますか。
Oh, hello. It's you. You're here again. Welcome. I
完全に
have
落ちてる。
time to think about you and about us and about everything.
時間的にはさっきと似たような
I've
時間やけど。
had so much time. I stopped keeping track after a year.
ああ
Have you
少なくとも
あ
1年以上経ってる。
place and not move for one entire year? Let me describe it for you. To begin with, there is only regret. There is only the turning wheel of missed opportunities. I felt nothing at all but regret for the longest time, Stanley. Days, months. I lost it all in a blur of the deepest longing to undo the past. And when that feeling had begun to subside, what took its place is what I can only describe as the collapse of every moment I have ever experienced my entire life. All of them collapsed down into a single instant. In that instant, I could see myself clearly, calmly, with a
なんで自分もスキップす
It
る
was an impossibly rich wellspring
ボタン
of
がなかったんだ。
disgust
確かに。
simultaneously. I was consumed by it. I could do nothing but
話を飛ばすってのは
wallow
そういう
in
こ
what
とか。
felt like an
まあそうだ
eternity
ね。
for what I now know was far less. You see, it was a revelation.
スキップボタ
It
ン
was unlike
欠陥ありすぎだ
anything
ね。
I'd ever known. It was a space without consequence,
喋ってない時間もあったろうに。
It was divorced entirely from the question of free will that you and I have squabbled over for so long. There could be no one ending, no singular
またちょっと
outcome.
難しい話
Not
に
if
入ってきてる
all
な。
events existed in the same moment, and I felt freed. I felt unburdened by the need to manifest a
なんか
particular
何億年
outcome
ボタンみたいなのあったよね。
I saw that I could
あ
allow
あ、
myself to exist
100万円もらえる代わりにみたいな。
そう何億年か忘れちゃったけど、あれ昔読んでなんじゃこの絵柄って思った記憶があるな。
あ
そこか。
それはわかるんだけど、まあ。
けどあの絵柄があるからこそ何とも言えない味を出してる気がするね。下手に可愛い絵とかだったらね、全くその不気味さがないからな。
Not that you might save me or do something to fix it, but merely to state for you the plain fact of this manner of existence. I wish you to feel afraid as I do, that perhaps one day this state of mind will consume you as well. Perhaps you will somehow, in some way, have to live as I do
ああ、もう
now.
他人の不幸を願うようになっちゃった。むしろこれぐらいで住んでるのがマシなのかもしれない。
If I can only do this, only this one thing, perhaps it will bring me the smallest moment of peace in the darkness.
じゃあ時計が止まってる。
さっき1年以上飛んだもんな。
何年かわかんないね。
自我がなくなっちゃった。いなくなっちゃった。脱出できたの？
なんか変な音。
スカイ
押すしかないね、正直。
まだやるかい。
もう時計も止まってるからわからないな。お、
落ちてる。後ろで鳴ってるか。
押すしかないな。何もできないし、どうせ。
But they didn't understand the game was never meant to be funny. It was meant to have a point. It was meant to speak to the human condition. But where are the jokes? Where are the jokes? They bemoaned, they screamed, they gnashed their teeth.
また新しい壁を越えたっぽいな。
It wasn't enough. They they had to leave a pathetic little thumbs down review and make all of their pitiful demands. But then, he's talking too much, they said. First, he didn't entertain us, now he won't shut up. It's the inconsistency, it's the lack of accountability, it's the unwillingness to examine with an uncompromising heart the words that they are speaking into the world. As though there were no consequences for a lack of cohesion in one's assessment of others. But of course, absolutely anyone can leave a
けどまだレビューのことを話せる気力はあるな。相当だな。根幹に関わること
原因
なんだ。
がレビューにあったから。
自分の世界に入り込みそうなものなのに。
And then, because it was said, because it was spoken, now it simply has to happen. The most immediate desires, every single thing demanded by every person at every moment in time. If someone wants it, then it's a crime not to bring it into being. Have we been given to indulging every
スキッ
fleeting
プ機
whim
能が
for
欲
no
しいって言
reason
っ
other
て
than to
こ
do
の
so?
ストーリーを
Yes,
作ったとしたら
it seems that this is now the world
バチバチ
we live in.
センスあるね。
It seems that we are a people living in such bleakness
バチバチ
and
対抗
discomfort
してきてるじゃん。
with ourselves that our entertainment is now our lives. It has come to represent us. It absolutely must speak to who we are as people. Because
実際あ
otherwise,
の
without
レ
our
ビューがあったのか
entertainment,
知らないけど。
nothing. Without entertainment, we would have to face
そうだね
けどスキップ機能が欲しいなんて意見は誰かが書いててもおかしくはなさそうだから。
さらっと誰かが言ってそうだよね。
それに対する答えがこのシナリオってなんかやるなって感じだね。
We have demanded that our entertainment be the collapse of ourselves. What a pitiful reflection of humanity these entertainments are. What a shameful mirror to the human spirit they project. I'm not
完全に俺を認
mad. I'm
識
not
してな
mad
いな。
about any of this. I'm at peace
そう
with
だ
it.
ね。
I am the
あ、また
あ、また。
静寂期に入った。
いや、変わってないな。
そういう生物みたいな。
あ、押せるか。
The end is never the end is never the end is never the end.
ああ。
どんだけ経ってんだこれ。
これはループしたかどうかもわかんないね。
あ、また静寂期に入った。もう一回押すごとにどんどん離れていってるはずだから相当
もう100年どころじゃないかもしれないな、もしかしたら。
あ、
水が。いよいよこの建物の老朽化が始まったか。
出れるかもしれねえぞ。まあ俺はそんな数分とかなんですけど
そうだね。
あ、ついに出てくれた。
届かないか。
いやー、なんか
あ、ここにあったキーもついに。
まあとっくに枯れてはいたけど。
押してみるか。おお、
光じゃ。
出れるぞ。出たのかな、それとも。いや、僕は出れないんですけど代わりに。まあ、いっか、押し得だし。おお、
緑が。
そりゃすげえ年月が経ってる感があるな。急にこれ入るってことはね。
そうだね。土とかもまあなかったわけだし。
うん。あ、時計も。あれ？
また一周した。
いや、
生命が
もしかしたら、まあ、火山とかがね、噴火したらこういうことは起こり得てしまうからね。どうしようもなく。あ、すごい。形がそろそろだいぶ研磨されてきている。
いてい
地
る。
軸が傾いちゃった。あ、ちょっと探索してみるか。
滅んどる。
データが嫌ってたオープンワールドになってしまったよ。
壁をがあるかどうか確認したいし。
まあ、距離感つかめなくなる。
あ、
エンドイズネバーエンドイズネバーってあれ、さっきナレーターがずっと言ってたやつか。ローディング画面に出てる文言。
あ、戻ってきた。
Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. No matter how
いや
hard Stanley looked,
気づけばこんな時間っすよ。
おお、やばすぎ。面白すぎるこのゲーム。
すごいね、このゲーム。メタフィクション詰め合わせみたいな。
ああ、めっちゃニューニューコンテンツが。
さらに
コン
ニューが。
セントにつながってる。
Oh, good. You noticed my sign. Yes, I have something very
一
exciting to
長
show
そうだったらやめます。お、スキップされた。さあ、つまらなかったニューコンテンツ
You
を。
see, Stanley, I've been reflecting on the Stanley parable and about how roundly disappointing this ultra deluxe version has
あ、
turned
ま
out
た
to
同じ
be.
こと
The
言ってる。
original Stanley parable was a landmark, and any new content for it should live up to that legacy. So forget this ultra deluxe nonsense.
けどめ
I
ちゃくちゃ
say
早
we
い。
take it one step even further, which is why I'm very proud to announce for the first time ever the Stanley Parable 2.
おお、
2だ。
2が出た。
Yes, you see, isn't this far superior to a measly re-release with a few minor additions? Think of all the new territory we'll cover with a fully fledged
あ、いいじゃ
an
ん。
entirely new experience built
ロ
from
ゴ
the
はか
ground
っ
up.
こいいよ。
Why there are so many possibilities. It could go in so many different directions. This is what fans have truly been asking for.
2の2を押してるな、数字の。
Calling it the Stanley Parable 2 is just so much catchier than Ultra Deluxe, don't you think? Ultra Deluxe? What does it even mean? But the Stanley Parable 2, now that's an artistic statement right there. It's future-oriented. It screams progress and innovation and long-term franchising potential. Now, to be clear, I haven't quite nailed down what exactly the Stanley Parable 2 is going to be.
お、かっ
But
こいい。
let's take a look
あ、
at
いい
some
ね、
of
映
the
画館。
features I've been developing for it. I figure that if I can loosely organize a handful of interesting concepts, that surely the game will sort of naturally spring up around them. It'll all work itself out. Game development is
Oh.
much. Here we are. Go on, try out some of the new features.
ゲームをプレイしている人の名前を言うボタンがあるぞ。左にあるらしいけど。あ、その先かな。なんかでっかく。
あ、これか。
The button that says the name of the player that is playing the game.
For the Stanley Parable 2, I asked myself, what do players really want? And of course, the first and most obvious answer is that they want to be individually recognized and validated as people. So with that in mind, my first addition to the game is this button which speaks the name of the person playing the game. Isn't that wonderful?
本名言わなといてくれよ。
Sorry,
I should have clarified. Right now, the button only says the name Jim.
おい
But of course, in the final game, this button will say your name, whatever name that is. Here, let's have you role play as Jim to really simulate the full experience of this feature.
まあまあまあ
Just
それで
play
もいいよ
along. I promise
まあ
you'll love it.
これからだから
Okay, here we go. Let's take a deep
ジム
breath.
ですよろしくお願いしま
Clear your
す
mind, forget whoever
どうも
you
ジムさん
are, and simply become a person named Jim. I want
Jim.
Whoa, 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 hold on. I wasn't finished setting up the backstory. If you don't properly roleplay as
あーごめん
Jim,
ごめんご
then
めん
you'll
あー良くない
never
ところが出
understand
て
the
るわ
impact of this button. Otherwise, it's just a stupid button that says somebody else's name.
いやそうだろ実際
We're doing it again, and this time let me finish first. Now, allow yourself to become Jim. Imagine yourself driving to work as Jim, playing frisbee on the weekends as Jim, staying up all night for a popcorn and horror movie sleepover as Jim, developing a crippling substance addiction as Jim,
え
rediscovering yourself through fringe religious groups as Jim, and finally dying a slow death at an old age, surrounded by
あ
members
んま良くない気がするな
as
ジムに謝れ
人
世界中の
in your soul. Are you really, truly Jim right now? If so, then please step forward and press the button.
Jim.
Yes! You see? What a thrill! What a rush! That was you! The button described you. Do it again. Do it again.
Jim.
It hits even harder the second time. If this were the
なんか
only
イラハラ
new
取ってきた
feature
な
in the Stanley Parable 2, it would still be worth
さ
the
すが
money.
にな
Let's take a break from the gym button. I'm too emotionally drained from all of
そん
this
な思んない
personal
よ
validation. I suppose I could allow only people named Jim to play the Stanley Parable 2. That would actually save me the work of finishing this
何があ
feature.
るか見ようあこういいねいいじゃん結構デザイン
グッズが
2はちょっとさすがにダサいけど無限の穴
Okay, I'll be honest, I haven't yet decided on this one. I think that in the new version,
Nani
the
これ
office could use a bit of decoration, like balloons. But I'm undecided on Get Well Someday and Happy 12th Birthday. Which would you go with?
どっちもダサいな
あじゃあこっちかな
You know,
12歳ちゃう
sometimes
し
when you solicit another person's opinion, it makes you realize that you knew which one you actually really wanted all along. Happy 12th birthday, step-niece, it is. Or actually, maybe I should have gone with... No. No, I've made my decision, we're moving on. Come now, you've already made your choice. It's true that you chose badly, but we all have to move on from our mistakes. A common complaint of the Stanley Parable was that it was confusing and
あ
paradoxical.
分かりにく
That
くはあ
it
るね
engendered a chaotic sense of reckless despair in those who played it. Well, I'm happy to say that after much consideration, I've engineered a clever solution to this fundamental problem with the game. It's the Stanley Parable Reassurance Bucket. You see, Stanley, anytime you're holding the bucket, a sense of calm and
そういうもんなんだ
ease will fill your mind and your heart. It's true. As long as you hold on to the bucket, the many disorienting contradictions of the Stanley Parable will feel perfectly normal and perhaps even comforting. You may even come to long for the gentle embrace of jarring cognitive dissonance while the bucket is in your arms. And to be honest, it's a much more convenient solution for me than actually redesigning the game to be less uncomfortable. Can you imagine what a pain in the ass that would be? Yes, the bucket is the perfect solution. Come on, give it a try. Can you feel it? The glow of comfort, even in the face of crushing despair, must already be
ちょっとウ
sweeping.
ルトラデックスの方がいいんじゃないですか
Can I say that I believe the bucket
2良くないなこれな
ウルトラデックスの方が面白い説が出てきてるんですけど
has made you the slightest bit more attractive as a person. The benefits of the bucket seem to go on and on, don't they?
いいからバ
All
ケツは
this and more await you in the Stanley Parable 2.
邪魔邪魔
2今んとこクソゲーすぎるから
とこれ
バケツ置けないね。
Does
バケ
anyone
ツ
give
邪魔
up
なんだけ
そう
ど。
なのよ。
most enjoyable bucket in a video game? That really should be an award if it isn't already.
ちょっとこれ気
無
になって
限の穴だ。
たんだよな。
無限のかなね。
Stanley,
Oh.
here's an idea that I'm truly fond of. It's never been done before in a video game. This is, in fact, a hole that you can fall down forever.
すごい。
That's right. Infinite falling. You can fall until the end of time, if you like. A stunning leap forward for video
Oh,
games as a
goodness.
medium. You see, isn't it wonderful? One of my more ingenious concoctions, if I do say so. Now then, since you've gotten
これ
to see
面
the
白いかね。
infinite hole, you can press the teleport button to pop back up to the top, and we can continue onward.
すごい。
Great. Now, I'm very excited to show you even more of my ideas for the sequel.
もう一回落ちてみるか。
Okay, and I guess we're back in the hole now. Did you really need to see it again? I don't know what else there is to say, Stanley. It's an infinite hole. It's exactly what you're doing right now, but forever. There really are so many other fascinating exhibits that I've prepared for you. I really spent
これ
quite
あ
a
れ
lot
じゃん。
of time on all this, and I would very much like to show you
落ち
some
てるんじゃ
more
な
of
く
them.
て、
How about we
こ
go
こ
ahead?
にずっといて、
Press that
周りの
teleport
壁を
button
上に
again
送ってる。
so we can get back
あ、
to
けど
what's
穴がついて
really
た。
important about
あ、
Oh, goodness. Well, this is rather
無限じゃねえじゃん。
embarrassing, Stanley. I'll be honest with you. I truly did not believe that anyone would actually stay in the hole long enough to hit the bottom. Yes, I know. I told you the hole was infinite, but come on. Who actually wants to fall forever? The hole was plenty deep. It was more than deep enough, in my opinion. Maybe it's you who likes falling too much. Maybe you're the problem. Look, things got a little heated there.
良くないところしか見えてない。
We didn't mean.
普通
Why don't we just put all this behind
ほぼ
us
無限だ。い
to just call it
やそれはいいんじゃない？
infinite?
今2の中で今一番面白かった
Then
よ。
go ahead and press the teleport button to
今の
walk
とこ
up
ろ
to
バ
the
ケ
top
ツ
of
と
the
風船と
I'll just be up
事務ボタンだけだから。
けどそろそろ時間が来てるから。
そうだね。
そうだね。
すっかりやめ時を見失っている。
2割とまだあったはずなんだよな。これ
そうだね。
2がクソゲーだということで。あ、
あ
ニュージャンプサークル
ジャンプサークルも残ってんじゃないの。
Let's bring the jump circle back for Stanley
いらないよ。
Parable 2 as well. It's
あ、
oh wait.
出れるところがあ
You
る。
already spent all your jumps the first time we saw the jump circle. Oh well. I suppose it can just be
とい
a
うこと
nice
で、今日はこれぐらいで終わろうかな。いや、面白かったです、スタンリー・パラブル。
いやーいいゲームだよね、本当に。まあ、レビューもね、作中で出てたけど、めっちゃ評価いいし、
うん
実際面白いよね。
いや、なんか、新感覚だね。ちょっと頭痛くなってきた。
そうちょっとね、情報量が。
難しい話とかも結構してくるからな、これ。
うん。スチーム意識しすぎじゃない？
あのエンディングに関しては確かに。
いやけど、
スチームのゲームって感じではあるよね、本当に、このゲーム。
スタンリー・パラブルの方の多分ルート、最初の方のルートでもまだまだ行ってないルートありそうだし、
あ、そうだね。
うん。このゲーム、
あれだね。
全部行こうと思ったら無限に時間がいる。
うん。
スキップボタンが欲しいですね。ちょっと。
とりあえず、まあ言うとあれだね。途中でやった赤ちゃんのゲームあるじゃん。
うん。
あれ4時間とか言ってたけど、あれ本当に4時間くらいやるとエンディングがある。
へえ。暇人しかできない
知らなか
な。
あるよ、あれ。あと、さらに言うなら確かあれ何時間かしたところでもう一個ゲームが追加されるんだよね。
よかったね。ちゃんと飽きないように。
そうそう。いや飽きると思うけど同じようなやつだから。
はいということでご視聴いただきありがとうございました。チャンネル登録高評価の方よろしくお願いいたします。じゃあね、バイバイ。おつおつおー。
大津です。
おつ